One of the interesting things about buildings that weren't built to be homes is that they can take on really unusual forms and character that's specific to their particular function. And when those buildings are converted into small homes, it's actually those undesigned qualities that I think can make for some of the most interesting architecture. This building was built to stable horses, and the client came to me because she could see the potential of it becoming something really unique. Probably the most distinctive feature of this building is its colour, and while it might look like it belongs in Sweden or Norway, it's actually located on an island off Canada. The stable was built into a sloped meadow surrounded by mature trees and with some beautiful views towards a lake off to the east. It would have housed 3 horses, 2 in these central stalls, each with their own stable door, and 1 in this end stall, which looks like it was added on later. That extended portion is now in very poor condition and needs to be removed, but not without first considering its form and how it interacts with the main stable. It's been built for entirely practical purposes, but there's something quite architectural in how it's been put together. You've got the rhythm of the board-on-board cladding on the stable, picked up with a different rhythm on these timber stud walls. Then the junction between the top of the wall and the roof strikes through in a straight line, and you're left with these gradually reducing ventilation gaps under the roof pitch. And then this is all topped by an overhanging monopitch roof that extends out just a bit further than you'd expect to form a little covered entrance around to the side. Altogether, it actually complements the original stable quite well, so I'm going to keep that in mind for the design. Now, because the stable was built into a slope, you get the function of the building and the site conditions starting to influence the way the building is used and then the form of the final structure. The result is this nicely asymmetrical building with small details like the overhanging roofs at different heights and the 3 internal levels that all came into existence through a really clever and pragmatic bit of planning. So now you've got to grips with the existing building. If you're one of the many viewers who likes to sketch out their own design before seeing mine, I'll give you some key views and dimensions to help you do that, while also telling you about this video's brand partner, Skillshare. Because if you're creatively minded and like to learn by doing, you should join the largest online community for creatives. It has thousands of classes led by industry experts across design, film, illustration, animation, entrepreneurship and more, and is a great place to dive directly into creative industries that interest you either as a hobby or as a potential career move. I've been using Skillshare to learn more about video editing and YouTube, so you can judge my progress for yourself. Ali Abdal's course on using Final Cut Pro is one that I've gone back to many times over. And then this learning path of 6 classes on growing your first YouTube channel has given me so many great insights and made it all so accessible. Skillshare are offering a 1-month free trial to the first 500 viewers to sign up using the link below with my name in it, so make sure you don't miss out. So the horses have long gone, and the aim for the building now is to turn it into a small guest house that can be used in various ways by the community or the owner. Rather than just being a functional conversion though, the owner wanted to create something unique and evocative that captures her design sensibilities. In particular, she wanted to see how the space could be crafted with light in different ways and for the distinctive barn-like characteristics of the stable to inform the design. The first step in any design proposal is to conduct a feasibility study, and I do that by exploring the project in plan view and iterating different layout options based on an analysis of the site. I know that the best views are in this easterly direction and that the site boundary is just over 10 metres in this direction and a small track road runs along it. The client has said that she'd like to create a barbecue area perpendicular to the stable to form a sort of courtyard area between the 2 buildings, and that would assist with some privacy from the track. The track is to the south, and that is also the direction of the strongest sun, which isn't something to be opened up to too much in this climate. So the northeast, where the best views are, will also be the best source of direct light. There's also a house up to the northwest to consider in terms of privacy. So the focus of the building's openings should be on the northeast and east, where this courtyard area would be. Internally, there's the question of what to do with this raised walkway at the back. The wall between the stalls and the walkway is acting as a retaining wall for the slope, so to remove it would involve digging out the earth behind and underpinning the back wall so as not to undermine it. That'll increase the cost of the works, but not doing it means living with quite a significant loss of floor area. We explored the potential to leave it, but the client ultimately decided that the best course of action was to dig it out so as not to compromise the space, since the whole point of this design exercise was to focus on achieving something really special. So this back wall would be tanked as it's below ground level, and that means it makes sense to put the more functional spaces like the bathroom back here. With this doorway at the back now opening above the floor level, it initially seemed to make sense to integrate the stair between the ground and upper floor into an entrance landing here. So I played around with this for a while with the aim of forming a back wall to a principal space that houses the bathroom, some storage and a stair emerging through it. A problem existed though that this existing upper floor level does not have sufficient head height to be able to function as a bedroom. So again, we were faced with the question of how much to change the existing building in order to achieve the brief. And just as with the raised walkway, the conclusion was that this building should be aiming for the best possible arrangement rather than accommodating compromises. So that means taking out this existing first floor and introducing a new one at a lower height. It was at this point that the penny dropped that this back door, while an existing feature of the building, was actually over-informing the design and dictating too much about the interior layout without really being justifiable. Because we knew that these front stable doors were going to remain because they're a key feature of the building, and they open up to the east and the sort of courtyard area, which is to be a main focal point. So there was no specific reason really to have an additional separate door, especially one that presents difficulties in terms of being at height. So then, by taking this door out, the options as to where the staircase can go are suddenly opened up, which opens up the whole floor plan. So one of the elements of the brief was to take down the existing side extension and replace it with a new extension to increase the internal space. I've already talked about the fact that this back area that's below ground level is good for functional spaces like the bathroom. But what that leaves in extending the space out to the side is one long narrow space, which is fine, but it can make for an uninteresting circulation route in plan. So now that we've freed up where the stair can go and it doesn't need to come down from that back door, it turns out that using some of the depth of this back space to position the kitchen is actually a good way of breaking out of that linear space that was at risk of forming. It means you can have all the plumbing along the back wall to support the kitchen and the bathroom, and it opens up this principal space to the stable doors to have a dining table. There's also the opportunity to create a bit of drama with some double height space over the principal space, and that would be achieved by setting the first floor back and over the top of the bathroom and kitchen. It's then a natural move to put the stair at the end of the building where it can mimic the rise of the roof pitch above it and draw you up towards the next level. In the extended area, you can then define the space slightly differently as there's a small level change of one step, so this can become a cozy living area with a corner fireplace. The sofa seating can double as day beds to make for accessible sleeping options, and views can be opened up to the east and the garden courtyard. A key part of the brief was to consider how light could inform the design, and so there are multiple different types of openings and levels of transparency within the proposal. In this small extension, for example, we've taken reference from that original side horse stall and put these high-level windows to echo the high-level ventilation openings in the existing stall. That shields the northwest corner of the building from the house that faces this building in that direction, ensuring privacy for both of them. This is opened up slightly with a picture window to the north, which can be either uninterrupted for a scenic outlook or can be partially closed off with a sliding shutter on the outside. The owner had shared in her brief how her affection for this barn comes partly from her childhood spent stomping hay down in similar working barns and seeing how the light shines through the slats of the timber cladding to pick up the dancing dust. So using a sliding shutter here that is slatted would echo that memory and create a playful effect with the light and views through this window, while also being a security element for when the building's not in use. On the east wall, the windows are larger still, and the rhythm of the timber studs is picked up in this sliding glazed door that opens across a fixed glazed pane. Externally, we created a small overhang to the principal facade and took the opportunity to continue the shape of the arched openings of the stable doors to form a decorative scalloped effect. Keeping the stable doors themselves in their existing form was key to maintaining the look of the existing building, but simply glazing them individually wouldn't have capitalized enough on their key position for creating a connection between the exterior and interior. So instead, we retained the cladding and the doors in the original configuration, though replacing the doors with a single leaf each, and opened up the internal wall to a large glazed area concealed behind that cladding. The glazing could then be slid open where the stable doors are, but fixed in the middle behind the slatted cladding. And that cladding element could be discreetly hinged at the top so that when the glass needs cleaning, it can be lifted up to provide access. It continues the language of that slatted hay barn and again offers layers of experience in how the light enters the building. In contrast to these stretches of glazing, the back of the property is more cave-like as it's excavated from the ground. The floor throughout this level has a polished concrete effect that's continued up into the staircase and round into the bathroom behind it. There's something very luxurious about dark coloured bathrooms that feels very relaxing, but we felt that there was the opportunity for a layering effect in the play of light within the design here. So while the two external bathroom walls are a concrete effect, the two internal walls would be translucent to allow the room to glow from both within and without. Polycarbonate isn't just used for garden sheds, it's also a viable architectural material and can be specified based on its acoustic and insulative properties. It allows light to pass through it, but maintains privacy, and used here also speaks to the agricultural history of this building. The kitchen can be simple as it's only for guest accommodation, but it's an opportunity to pick up the red of the external cladding in a micro cement worktop and splashback. And then the final thing to mention in this ground floor space is the change in structure that would come by removing the existing first floor. Ultimately, this would rely on the expertise of a structural engineer, but it seems possible that with this long pitch to the roof, the position of the first floor is playing a structural role in supporting these rafters. So in removing the floor level and opening up this principal space to the double height, we'd propose that support is instead offered with these perpendicular timbers connecting with the edge of the new upper floor level. Visually, they also reduce the vertical impact of this space and introduce a bit of drama to the exposed structure. If the roof can be insulated externally, the rafters can then also be revealed to reference the existing timber frame form of the building. So upstairs, there's no specific need to enclose this space, and there's another opportunity for a layering effect in partially cladding this stud wall with the polycarbonate again. Painting the timbers up to a certain height is to reduce their vertical impact visually and also makes them look like they've been gradually stripped back of their layers. There's an existing opening at this south gable that could be glazed and then opened to pull across another slatted shutter when needed. And then on this east wall, we've taken reference from a strategy that was used by a Swedish architect whose name I'm reluctant to pronounce out loud, and it was a design feature that the client had fallen in love with after seeing. It takes the slatted light effects to the next level by sandwiching the glazing between both internal and external slats to form a whole wall of fragmented light. At this upper east wall, the views are the best, so we've also introduced an openable element. And we've extended this wall of light out of the bedroom and across the double height space also. And just to introduce one last playful effect, we've aimed to allow this slatted light effect to spill down into the kitchen via a portion of glass floor. It's just another layer of transparency and light play to counter the visual weight of the upper floor element, to create the opportunity for more moments of discovery as the sun moves through the day. So if you have a building that you'd like me to reimagine, do get in touch with me through my website at gemmawheeler.com and you'll learn about the different ways of working with me there. I hope you enjoyed this and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.